watch me do my makeup as I talk about multi-chrome eyeshadows. We're going to talk about the best place to get them, what the most affordable ones, different brands that I've used, all in all, just everything I know about multi-chromes. If you like this type of video, please stick around. I make a lot of videos like this. Someone actually put in the comments for me to do a makeup look after I reviewed these multi-chromes from Wet n Wild, which I was like, she's right, I didn't actually do a makeup look. So let's go. So let's talk about multi-chromes. I mentioned it in the video before. However, multi-chrome is essentially what people call eyeshadow that shifts from multiple different colors. It's a really nice way of just making your eyeshadow really pop. I think that multi-chromes are so beautiful and they're easy to use. However, they can be expensive and kind of hard to find with a lot of luxury and drugstore brands. So you kind of have to look a little bit more in the niche category to find these shadows. I just reviewed Wet n Wild's version of multi-chromes and I actually really liked them, save for, of course, this one that had that like that kind of texture. I didn't like that. However, there are a lot of brands of multi-chrome eyeshadows that are a little bit easier to get your hands on. Kind of as I go through this video, I am going to pop up swatches so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. That way you can kind of, I'm going to say, like, follow along with me as I do on my makeup. I don't know. We'll see how this works. This is the first video that I've made of this kind. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, there are so many indie brands of multi-chromes. The thing with multi-chromes though is they do tend to be just a little bit less affordable. They're not necessarily going to be the cheapest things to get your hands on, which is why I was so excited when Wet n Wild came out with their own version of it, because I was like, finally something that's affordable that is a little bit easier to get your hands on. Most multi-chromes that I know of, you have to go to the store in order to get those products, which not necessarily a bad thing. However, that does mean that, so apparently I can't think and put on my makeup at the same time. That does mean that you can't just walk into the store and buy a lot of multi-chromes. The three exceptions that I know of, actually count them 4 exceptions that I know of, is actually Natasha Denona made one eyeshadow in her small palette that is a multi-chrome. Danessa Myricks comes out with their Lightworks as well as their little pots every year, and those tend to be multi-chromes. LA Girl also has, they call them duo shifter shades. However, I do consider them a little bit more of a multi-chrome product. And then of course the LA Girl, or sorry, the Wet n Wild ones that I just reviewed are also multi-chrome products. Now, those are the only ones that I know of that are multi-chrome that you can just walk into the store and buy. All of the rest of them are indie stores that you have to order individually for. Here's the thing. I love Danessa Myricks and I have bought 3 of her Lightwork palettes as well as a handful of other products, including a couple of those pot eyeshadow flakes. I don't know, I don't love those, but I have bought a decent amount of them. I don't necessarily have a problem with Danessa Myricks. I think that it's a beautiful formula. However, not everything that you're going to get in that Lightworks palette is a multi-chrome. So personally, if you're just dabbling, I wouldn't get that palette because I think it's a very expensive palette for what it is. I think it's a beautiful palette. Obviously, I've bought a few of them, so obviously I do like it. However, it is very expensive, and if you're just a dabbler in makeup and want a few shades, I think that there are easier ways to get that, and that Danessa Myricks is not the easiest way to get that, personally, because especially in some of her palettes, we have a lot of shades that are more, oh my gosh, what's the word that I'm looking for? More chrome. In her very latest Lightworks palette, she has a couple of matte eyeshadows. So it's just one of those things that I'm like, if you're not a really like into makeup person, it just might not be the look. But if you're just looking to try out some multi-chrome, I don't think Danessa Myricks is going to be the best for that. Now, moving on to Natasha Denona. Frankly, I would say the exact same thing about Natasha Denona. I am saying this as someone who, Natasha Denona is one of her favorite eyeshadow formulations, or sorry, one of my formula eyeshadow Words are hard. One of my favorite eyeshadow formulations is actually Natasha Denona, and I still would say that there are way easier ways to get your hands on Natasha Denona than or a multi-chrome. Even though you can just go in and buy this multi-chrome, I still think that there are easier ways. As I'm literally using a Natasha Denona pencil. Yeah, there's just easier ways, and it's all of one multi-chrome. And it's a beautiful formula, this multi-chrome that I'm talking about. However, it's not the easiest color to work with, and it's also not the easiest, it's not the most shifty shade that you can actually get your hands on. And so I just think that for those number of reasons, it's not necessarily that there's anything wrong with it. It's just there are easier ways to kind of explore the eyeshadow. Ooh, those are completely not sisters or twins. Those are like cousins. Okay, we'll fix it. Natasha Denona, at least for me, is out. Now let's talk about LA Girl and Wet n Wild, because those are other ones that you can just walk into a store and purchase. Those are beautiful. Like, when I say they're beautiful, they are so beautiful. I would say that the Wet n Wild has some slightly easier shades to use than the LA Girl, because LA Girl has, let me just show you. LA Girl has shades like this. Like, this one is so pretty. It's also very opaque and very much like a club going shade. Same thing with this, purple to blue, pretty, but it's not an everyday wear. The only one that I would say might be, and only if you were very light-handed, would be this one, but it's very chrome as well. So I don't consider them necessarily everyday wear type of shades. Now, if we moved on to the Wet n Wild ones, they do have some that are a little bit harder to wear. Moving on to the Wet n Wild eyeshadows, they do have a few that are way hard to wear, and they do have a few that are going to be tricky to pair every day. However, they also have a lot of topper shades that those are actually, I think, the easiest for a beginner to kind of get into and try out when it comes to multi-chromes, because you can do a very basic eyeshadow look and transform everything with something like that. That said, I think that they only have like 4 colors that are actually topper shades. So if you're not liking any of those 4 colors, you would have to move on to potentially something else. They are actually a really good price point. If you are not aware, multi-chromes tend to be anywhere from 20 bucks per shade to sometimes slightly less. So, I mean, they tend to be very expensive eyeshadows in general. The Wet n Wild ones are the cheapest I've ever seen, and they are coming in right around $6.50 per shade. So really easy to get your hands on, quite flexible in terms of you can use these with a lot of different things, which I think is actually kind of amazing when it comes to multi-chromes. That's hard to say. Next up, we have a eyeshadow that I think is fairly easy to get your hands on, but you do have to order it. And that is, and I never can say the brand name, Follicular. You can get these on Amazon. Not all of them are multi-chrome type shades, but some of them are, which I think is honestly part of the allure to me, because I think that, I mean, if you can just order something on Amazon rather than trying to find an additional place to order something from, that's something that I'm all for. I know some people are boycotting Amazon, so I don't know where else you can order them from, but that is something that, at least for me, I really like, because they're easy to get your hands on. They're not super expensive, and they're really pretty. The other one that you can get on Amazon is Moira Cosmetics. Now, here's the thing with Moira Cosmetics. As far as I know, they only have multi-chrome eyeliners, but these things, I'm actually going to put one of these on today, are so pretty. I like them a lot. This is actually the one I'm going to put on later today because I'm doing the whole green thing. But it's not for everyone, and I do understand if you're not supporting Amazon, or if that's not easier for you to get your hands on. I understand that too, because just because I like something doesn't mean that everybody else is going to. But the formula of the Follicular ones are nice, they're soft, they're blendable, and they're affordable. And actually the same with the Moira Cosmetics eyeliners. I really like them because I just find that they are easy to use, and they create a nice pop. Like I normally use them on my under eye. I was gonna say under eye, but my lower lash line. That's how you say it. I don't know why it looked like I was threatening you with this. I wasn't. Or maybe you guys liked it. I don't know. I don't judge. The next one that I would say, and this is a brand that I love, their matte eyeshadows. I've actually done a video on how much I like their matte eyeshadows, so I'm not going to talk about it today. However, Blend Bunny Cosmetics has come out with one singular palette that is a multi-chrome palette. They are beautiful. They're not very easy to use, but not in the sense of like they're not blendable, they're not pigmented. They're all of those things and more. They are very beautiful. However, they're again really bright, vibrant colors that sometimes can be difficult to make wearable for the everyday person. So again, I like them. However, if you're looking for something that's going to be easy to wear every day, those are not it. But they are very pigmented. They are very blendable. A little goes such a long way when it comes to those eyeshadows. So I find that the next brand, and this brand I actually really like, it is, again, all of the rest of these you have to order online. You can't just walk into the store and buy those. So keep it in mind because I'm not going to keep repeating that. But I really like all of these brands. They're just a little harder to get your hands on. Odin's Eye. Odin's Eye has quite a lot of topper shades, like a lot of topper shades. So if you're not sure or you're not very into makeup, but you want something that has a little extra oomph, Odin's Eye all the way. That is what I recommend. What do you think of this eyeshadow? I feel like the light does not do this justice. That's why I'm like really packing it on because I want you guys to be able to see. Odin's Eye, I think they have so many topper shades, and you should see my collection, or maybe you don't want to see, and they are all $12 a piece, which is not nothing, but frankly the LA Girl shifter shades are $11, so they're barely more than that, and I think that they have enough of a variety that it's just worth taking a look at. I think it's worth taking a look at, I should say, because I guess not everybody would agree with me on that. But the next brand that I would say you should look into is Lethal Cosmetics. I really like their eyeshadows. I use them a lot. Oh, seriously, look at this. This is what's on my eyes currently. I know it doesn't look like that because different lighting. Anyways, Lethal Cosmetics has a ton of different options, and I think that they're really pretty and an easy one to kind of try out as well. They also have a lot of options. Some of them kind of range a little bit more than others. Like some of them are obviously more expensive, but you are going to get that anywhere in the multi-chrome arena. So, I mean, as much as I want to say like they're expensive, they are, but multi-chromes in general are expensive. So I don't feel like you can really judge it by that. I feel like you have to just take that. If you're trying to dive into multi-chromes, you kind of have to just take it and like it. Actually, I'm lying to you. I don't like it, but I definitely still spend some money on multi-chromes. So, okay, moving on out of Lethal Cosmetics, we also have Divina Cosmetics. Divina also has a lot of options. I feel like, honestly, all of these places have a lot of options. Divina Cosmetics, I felt like I was able to find a lot more black-based eyeshadows than I was able to find of other ones, which was kind of nice. So like Odin's Eye has a lot of toppers, and they have a few that are a little bit darker based, but I felt like some of them were just opaque with a white base, and some of them. Then we have Cleona. Now Cleona is, honestly, I forgot I had these ones for the longest time, but they also have some really pretty black base ones. So like this one's more of a black base, this one is. They also have quite a few options, and honestly, they have some great formulas. Something I forgot to say about Odin's Eye is I have found that the formula is very, very inconsistent with Odin's Eye. Some of them are really, really great. In fact, most of them are really, really great, but every once in a while you get a dud color, and it's the formulation. I think it's the pigment that they use. The formulation itself, that color of the formulation is a dud. So, I mean, keep that in mind. For the most part, I bought them as sets, so it didn't really bother me a ton. I just don't use that particular, it's like one shade that I don't use, which is irritating, but it is what it is. I have found that Lethal Cosmetics, Divina, and Cleona tend to be very, very good quality all the way around. At least the ones I've ordered. Obviously, I don't have every single shade from any of them, but the ones that I've ordered, I think are very well-rounded, and I don't have any dud shades from any of them, which is really, really nice. I hate it when one of them is super, super flaky and then the next one is completely different. I hate that. So I am looking for a nice consistent shadow, and I'm not talking about like some shades are more chrome-like and some shades are more glittery. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like if I dip my finger into different shades, I still have a consistently good result from all of them. Even if the textures are slightly different, that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when the formulation is bad on one but good on the other. I hate that. So, I mean, oh my gosh, these are so pretty. And actually, just a moment for my eyes. You can see, I think that looks so pretty. I will also say the formulation for Wet n Wild did seem to be a little bit inconsistent. Like this one, I mentioned this in my review as well, but this one was just kind of a greasy shade, which I hate. And I have found that sometimes that does happen with multi-chromes if they don't formulate them right. So, I mean, it's not a judgment. However, I'm not going to purposely buy something that I know is like that. I probably won't purchase that one again. And in fact, I may be getting rid of it. I might not. I might just utilize it for one of my character makeup looks. I haven't decided yet. I'll try to use it because I don't want to waste it. But it doesn't tend to be something that I like and something that I reach for when they get just a little bit greasy. I really don't dig that. That's one of my pet peeves. Since I'm done talking about those eyeshadows, I am going to be right back because I don't really have a lot else to say about multi-chrome eyeshadows. So I'll be right back with the finished makeup look, which includes the multi-chrome eyeliner on the bottom of my lash line. And there you have it. That is the end result with just a little bit of multi-chrome eyeliner underneath. I like the way it looks. However, I understand if you don't. If you like videos like this, like, subscribe, or don't. It's kind of your choice. I don't really care. Although, if you want to see cool other shirts like this, you definitely should like and subscribe. Just saying. That's not really what my channel's about. Thanks for watching. Bye.